Jamie McIntyre. And Jamie, you got very close to where that plane went down.
That's right, Judy. A while ago, I walked right up to next to the building. Firefighters were still trying to put out the blaze. The fire, by the way, is still burning in some parts of the Pentagon. And I took a look at the huge gaping hole that's in this side of the Pentagon, in an area of the Pentagon that has been recently renovated, part of a multi-billion-dollar renovation program here at the Pentagon. I could see parts of the airplane that crashed into the building, very small pieces of the plane on the heliport outside the building. The biggest piece I saw was about 3 feet long. It was silver and had been painted green and red, but I could not see any identifying markings on the plane. I also saw a large piece of shattered glass. It appeared to be a cockpit windshield or other window from the plane. Back here, the fight goes on to put out the fire inside the Pentagon. The heat from that blaze was described as absolutely intense, and the number of casualties here has still not been released. Dozens of people were taken away in ambulances, and the Pentagon is still not releasing any figures on deaths. But clearly, people who had offices in that what is now a huge gaping hole in the side of the Pentagon, clearly there were some people killed in this tragedy. Judy?
Jamie, Aaron was talking earlier, one of our correspondents was talking earlier, I think it was Bob Franken, with an eyewitness who said it appeared that Boeing 757, the American Airlines jet, landed short of the Pentagon. Can you give us any better idea of how much of the plane actually impacted the building?
You know, it might have appeared that way, but from my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual side of the building that's crashed in, and as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere around, which would indicate that the entire plane crashed into the side of the Pentagon and then caused the side to collapse. Now, even though if you look at the pictures of the Pentagon, you see that the floors have all collapsed, that didn't happen immediately. It wasn't until almost about 45 minutes later that the structure was weakened enough that all of the floors collapsed.
Who was represented on that plane was allowed to have up to 4 family members come into the room to hear the voice recording. And most of the families chose at least one person to represent them so that they could hear it. And we were allowed to hear it twice. And in addition to that, we had a transcription that was on a video screen. So what you couldn't understand, you could at least see the words. And it was an experience that I had looked forward to for 7 months. And so for me, it gave me this incredible sense of peace. I was able to hear Tom's voice. There were many other family members who heard their loved one's voice. And it really helped us to not only hear the sounds and answer the questions that we had, but it created this visual that allowed us to have a better understanding of what our loved ones went through and what they experienced on that flight. It was hugely important to be able to have that with us for the remaining years in trying to grieve and get past the sorrow and letting go of the grief.
Was it one thing, Dina, in particular that you heard that helped you with that sense of peace, or was it just in totality?
I think a little of both, really. It was in totality. I knew that he was involved with the task at hand. He was not afraid. He was not, sitting down and letting whatever was taking place on that plane happen to him. He was fighting back to make a difference. And so that was huge. But I did hear him. I heard him shouting direction and leading, and knowing that he was doing what he told me on the phone he was going to do was really important to me.
All these years later,
but,
goosebumps.
More than that,
Dina, go ahead.
Well, I have to tell you, really what was most important, I think, for most of us in that room is that the scenario of what happens in your own
On September 11th, 40 people on Flight 93 saved the lives of countless others on the ground. Todd Beamer was on that flight. Though it no longer tells time, Todd's watch now speaks volumes about courage. It was a day we'll never forget. Now there's a place to remember, together. The 9/11 Memorial Museum. Plan your visit at 911memorial.org.
When I took the call over, there was a soft-spoken, calm gentleman on the other end. He told me that there's 3 people that have taken over the flight. At that point, I asked him his name. He told me Todd Beamer. He was from Cranberry, New Jersey.
Did you make a conscious decision not to tell Todd about the World Trade Center? Why?
Yes, because I wanted him to have hope. I wanted him to think that he still had a chance. I didn't want him to feel like it was just totally hopeless, and he definitely didn't have a choice, and he knew he was going to die. I didn't want him to have that feeling.
When he wanted to pray, was your sense then that he knew that?
Yes, I did. I felt that he knew at that time, because he had said, "Oh, Jesus, help us." And then he said, "Lisa, would you recite the Lord's Prayer with me?" And I knew that he knew at that time that it wasn't much left for him to do.
What do you think that this country needs to know about the men and women who were on board Flight 93?
They're all heroes in my eyes. They really are. They all pitched together, and they did what they thought was the best thing to do at that time. And I feel that Todd played a great role in that, because when he told the guys, "Are you ready?" I assumed that they were waiting on his cue. Then they responded.